Welcome into a Packers Week 8 defensive breakdown of their win against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, as I mentioned in the offensive video, if you didn't see that one first, I'm splitting up the offense and defense now into two separate videos. I want the content to be a little bit more digestible for the fans, right? Shorter videos, maybe we'll get more clicks. But with that being said, let's look at the film. Let's see how the Packers defense performed in this game. All right, first play that I'm going to look at is a 3rd and 3. We're going to highlight Nixon here down at the bottom of the screen, and he is just going to be lost. This is man coverage, and there is no reason for him to be lost in this situation. We're just going to get to the snap. So we got a one high look. Rodgers is just confirming it. He knows that there's going to be pressure. You can see there was potential for pressure, but they were going to green dog, so if that back leaks out, they're going to take them. So Cooper takes it. You've got your hook defender, and then you've got your deep safety, right? Rodgers is going to roll out, make a play, and Nixon, I have no idea what he is doing. He is in man coverage. He takes his eyes off his man, looks back at the quarterback, loses his man, looks towards the sideline, instead of following his man, who is obviously going to be tracking the football, and he makes a big play. I don't want to spend this entire video talking poorly about Keyshawn Nixon, but this was easily his worst game as a Packer this year. All right, here we get pressure from Gary. Rodgers going to roll out, and that is a heck of a throw for a guy in his 40s. That could easily have been a touchdown if he doesn't lead him towards the sideline. All right, that is a busted coverage. So if that's kept in the field of play and he's able to not have to run out of bounds due to his momentum, that's an easy touchdown for the Steelers. And we've got another 3rd down this time, 3rd and 15. We're going to focus on Parsons on the inside. He's going to get great pressure, and that's going to allow Gary to wrap around and get an easy sack. So the Parsons effect, moving him around, getting him inside. All right, there's no way that guard is going to keep up with him. Forces Rodgers to step up, and Gary's able to make a play. I would like to give, a half sack credit to Parsons for this, because he does get there in time, right? Makes contact. They're basically making contact at the same time. He finishes it. So really nice job there by Parsons, pushing the pocket, forcing Rodgers to step up, and then Gary is there to clean it up. A little bit later, still in the first quarter, about 4 minutes left. This is a near interception by Edgerrin Cooper. He had a fantastic game. Here he is covering this flat, right? Essentially just got a curl flat concept, and he is so close, right? So close to getting his hands on that and picking it off. Obviously obstructs the view of the receiver, and it goes incomplete. I don't think we get a better angle from this. At least we can watch the offensive line. Not really a lot of pressure. You can see, obviously, the diving attempt just outside his reach, but that could have been a huge play. And next, we'll get into the punt return again. I talked about Keyshawn Nixon having his worst game. Here he is on special teams, right? Not using his legs to catch a punt. He is reaching out with his arms, right? Not getting his body under it, and that is obviously going to be a muff, and we are very, very lucky that Zane Anderson is there to fall on it, and the refs don't let this go into a scrum. You can see he's already ruled, okay, he's got the ball, he's down. All right, we are extremely lucky that they didn't let that get into a scrum. All right, but here it is from the end zone angle as well, right? Catching it with a guy in his face. Don't see him wave for a fair catch, and he's got a guy 2 yards away from him. Muffs it, obviously gets benched. Dobbs is in later for the punt returns, but Nixon did not have a great game at all. Here we are at a 3rd and 3, and we've got man coverage down here. Valentine is alone with Metcalf, and we know Rodgers, we saw this a ton. You got short yardage situation. Hey, I'm going to take my shot one-on-one. All right, he doesn't see anything. They've got something at the sticks, and it's all clogged up. So he's going to come back to his one-on-one shot. All right. And Valentine does a good job of getting his hands in there. right? Making it tough for Metcalf. That is a very catchable ball. But again, we'll look back here. Rodgers looking over there is going to hold the safety. Right, safety is going to be distracted. Hey, his eyes are over here. So that's going to leave that one-on-one opportunity open. And Valentine has stepped up to the challenge this week. And I would anticipate that he's going to get a lot more playing time going forward. There's a lot happening on this play. Again, we'll focus on Nixon. I don't want to do it. I don't want to, but I have to. All right. This is a third down. Third down and 9. Here you are. He gets beat. Gets beat at the top of the screen. What does he do? He's going to hold. There you go. Automatic first down. There's the flag. Comes in. Part 2 of this play. Got one high safety. You got 2 vertical routes. He's got to be responsible for either one. He chooses wrong in this situation, unless Williams is also supposed to be a high safety here, right? I don't know what their call was. Maybe Williams made a mistake, right? But he's firing down, so it's giving cover 1 robber, right? So I would assume that he's going to slide over to the middle. He's got to play that middle safety. And then you've got DK, who is wide open, nobody behind him. If that ball is out in front of him, that's a walk-in touchdown. We are very fortunate that there is pressure on this play. From the bottom of the screen, you can see Rashawn Gary getting his hand on Rodgers. So Rodgers has a small pocket, and he's just trying to loft it up over the top. Williams makes a nice play, but all of that is for nothing because there is a hold that gives the Steelers an automatic first down. Something that was killing the Packers all night was this jumbo set. You've got the extra offensive lineman. He checked in a lot in the first half, not so much in the second half, because their left guard, he goes out. That is going to be the game changer in the second half. We'll talk more about it afterwards, but here you've got Washington, who is a massive human being, 6'7", as a tight end. And you've got an offensive lineman who can come in motion because he's an eligible receiver. He's going to come clean things up, get a decent seal. If he keeps his balance, it's probably a much better seal. And Warren doesn't necessarily have to go around before he cuts up like this. He loses his footing, but they're still able to get a decent gain for a first down. All right. And we'll watch it from the end zone angle as well, just so you can see the box. All right. There's going to be a lot of movement up front. All right. You can see a nice cutback angle opens up for Warren. And he's able to get a first down. And that's just kind of the start of the issues with the jumbo package. Here we go with more. All right. Again, same extra lineman. Anderson checked in. And you're going to get this matchup. McDuffie on Washington. And that is going to be a win for the Steelers. And here they go. Toss to the outside. We get a slip from Cooper. All right. He's going to slip. So his pursuit is done. And you can just see the block by Washington. Gets that seal on the outside. You get a good block downfield by the receiver. There's just nobody there. And Warren doesn't want to go out of bounds. He doesn't want to take those easy yards. He's going to make you hurt a little bit. I can see a very nice gain for the Steelers. All right, that is just not a rep that you're going to win having McDuffie on Washington one-on-one in the run game. He's got to try to set that edge against a 300-pound tight end, and that's just not going to happen. And then, of course, on this possession, there was a defensive pass interference. And then Rodgers, even though this is a run, he's gonna take that one-on-one shot. He sees it's man. He's got DK out there. DK takes his choice. I'm going to run the slant. Rodgers, perfect timing, easy touchdown for the Steelers. And they just had a really good possession here. All right, this snap comes off with 37 seconds left before the half. They had a really good job managing the clock and cutting down the Packers' chances. This is just way too easy for the Steelers. Of course, the Packers' offense, they go down, nearly get points on the board somehow. But, of course, it was a missed field goal. And we're going to highlight, we got Valentine here at the bottom. And this is just great aggression. I really like the way that he played in this game, and he recognizes it right away. He knows Rodgers wants to get the ball out quick. Boom, ball is out. He's reading this defender, right? He doesn't even see Valentine. He sees him drop back, but he's just going to take that quick flat, and Valentine gets downhill. Obviously hits Freiermuth in the knee, who has to take he's got a Charlie horse. He's got to sit out for a little bit, but that is just a great play by Valentine. Next play, we're going to get some motion that's going to be coming across the field. That's going to push everyone outside, and that's going to cause a miscommunication that's going to leave DK wide open. And I would like to see a little bit more from Quay here. Obviously, he's got to recognize what's happening. I think this is somewhat of a too far of a push outside by Bullard. Bullard's been playing pretty well in the slot, but this time I know he's responsible for the curl to flat, but I think he pushes out way too early. I think what he should do is help his hook zone here. You can see they're communicating. They push out. That communication isn't great. And I think if he just stays on the number 2, forces Valentine to take the motion guy, and he gets a jam or a reroute or something, this play isn't there. Right? That's just a seam shot. Quick read by Rodgers, able to see that the defense is sliding outside. He takes it, and DK's gone for 24 yards. And on the backside, I would like to see, right, with that motion, Quay's obviously got a responsibility in the run game, and he's got to have his read step. But I think at this point, he's got to get some depth, right? He's got to push out a little bit more than that once he sees Rodgers put the ball like that, and he's got his feet and shoulders set towards a receiver. He's a little bit too late to react. And Quay did have a good game, showed a lot of maturity. Obviously getting poked in the eye later by DK and not reacting. So good on Quay for growing in terms of being a football player and not costing the team with stupid penalties. We got a few more plays that we're going to look at. This one, we're obviously going to focus on Parsons up at the top. This is a 1st and 10 in the 4th quarter, at the very start of the 4th quarter. They bring in Jonnu Smith, right? He's motioning over. He's going to get that little chip, right? He's going to help that tackle. And that's not going to be enough. All right, so you get a nice shell defense that basically shuts everything down. Maybe a chance to hit Freiermuth over the middle, right? Because that high safety is being challenged vertically, right? So unfortunately, that read doesn't happen because there is so much pressure. All right, so Rodgers is not able to get there. He instead has pressure in his face. And we'll see this from the end zone angle a lot easier. You can see Jonnu Smith gets him first. He gets around. Smith does a good job doing what he needs to do. Push him outside, make it easier for the tackle. Tackle and the guard get hands on him, and Parsons is still able to fight through to get a sack. This guy is just unbelievable. And here we've got another sack, this time from Gary. Gary has done a lot better this year with his patience in being a pass rusher. I know he's got a high gear where he wants to go, but here he's not pushing it too much. Right? He realizes that, hey, eventually Parsons is going to get pressure and things are going to step up, right? And Gary does a good job of not over pursuing, right? If everyone over pursues, then there's going to be a lane to step up in. So someone's got to be patient, and Gary's been that guy. All right, so he gets his sack there. We'll watch it here. He wraps around. He's one-on-one with the guard. Nice little pull here just to get the guard off balance. All right, so he's got to reach, and there's just no way that 66 is going to be able to stay with him and hold that block long enough to prevent a sack. And we got 2 more plays that we're going to look at. This we're going to focus on Edrin Cooper. This is just a really good punch out for a forced fumble. All right, there he is. Makes a football move. This is what they've been talking about since training camp. Hey, we're going to go for that ball. It's finally paying off. This game, the play before this, which I didn't show, was a knockout by Quay Walker, right, at the point of the catch. And this time, Edrin Cooper aiming for that ball. comes in, hand on the ball, able to force a fumble, and then Bullard is able to fall on it and get that recovery. So changes the momentum. So I mentioned in the offensive video as well, this is going to give a little bit of energy to the offense whose run blocking improved after this moment. And then the Packers have had a tendency in the red zone to play quarters. All right. And this is going to be a match quarters. You've got 4 deep, but they're essentially reading the number 2, right? You got eyes on the number 2 receiver for both of these guys, right? And they're going to try to play off of that. And if the number 2 goes vertical, then obviously the safety is going to be responsible for that. So you can see if he goes vertical or inside, that safety is going to fire down and take him, right? So on both sides, boom, boom, you've got these inside dig routes. So both of those safeties have to jump down, and that leaves him on an island up at the top, right? He's now got to be responsible for this inbreaker at the back of the end zone, and there's just nothing that he can do in that situation, right? That's the vacated spot in the zone. That is obviously a touchdown. I don't know why that was called incomplete on the field. That is like 4 steps with control. Of course, the ball comes out, but expedited review was able to fix that. And one last thing that we'll talk about once we go back to it. Yeah, very nice catch by Wilson. First career touchdown, I believe. But we can see this pass rush is exhausted. The first guy that I would look at is Wyatt, obviously coming back from injury. But that is just not great effort from the pass rush. You've got Enagbare, who's on the inside. Right? He's not looking too great there in that situation. Gets on the ground. And then you've got Parsons, late game situation. Right? He tries that rip move. That again is why he doesn't get a lot of holding calls. He's ripping underneath, which forces the arm of the offensive lineman to get high. I know a lot of people say, oh, that's a hold. But if he's ripping and putting that arm in that position, that's not a hold. But you can see he is exhausted as well at the end of the game. And that's just, if you give Rodgers that much time against zone coverage, that's going to be a touchdown. All right, so that's going to do it for this video. The second half was very different from the first. The Packers were being bullied in the first half. That jumbo set was really, really too much to handle for the Packers. So that might be an issue going forward. But once that left guard was out of the game, he had to leave. They couldn't do that jumbo anymore because Anderson had to fill in that left guard spot. So the Steelers really couldn't sustain any drives in the second half. They couldn't control the clock like they were doing in the first half. So that's why we saw this kind of change. And obviously the Packers, they forced a turnover. That's going to help things out. And the Packers offense, of course, was going down and scoring. And that's going to put a lot of pressure on the Steelers offense to make things happen as well. So we saw as well that Rodgers kind of feared the Packers pressure. He was getting the ball out quick, right? He was trying to play it too safe. And I think that's what helped Green Bay extend the lead a little bit. He's playing safe. They're punting in the second half. But we've got the Panthers next week. Let's see how this Packers defense improves. And I look forward to breaking down the next game. So I'll see you in the next video. Take care.